Welcome, everybody, to Connecting with Jennifer Filzen. On today's episode, I have one of my favorite human beings on the whole planet, Carm Capriotto. He is the voice of the aftermarket auto repair industry. And let me tell you, this man is responsible for me being as successful as I am in the auto repair industry because he was one of the first people to allow me to get a voice. And I met you at the SEMA show in 2017,
All right. Yeah, I think so.
and we met at a dinner that I was invited
Oh,
to. I didn't realize the importance of this meeting. I just was meeting a friend, Ryan Clough, and I hadn't even met him in person yet, so I didn't even know what the guy looked like. I thought Brian Bates was Ryan Clough. I didn't know who was who. I'm sitting at the table with giants, and I had no idea. And I'm
well,
just being me.
let me share with you a memory that I have of that. We were in the Win, and we were at the owner of the Win's restaurant, his namesake restaurant, and Jennifer, I had the best ribeye I've ever had.
Right? That food was off the chart. Yeah,
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 it
it was
really was.
so
And it was
good.
it was great to meet you. Actually, you were sitting, it was a very wide, deep table, but you were directly across from me. Yeah. And when I was done listening to you, because that's what I do for a living, you see, I said, gotta interview that gal. That's what I said. Yeah.
And you did at Vision, which was the first time I was teaching. So
Yeah.
you really caught me as I was just starting to get. I went from being a behind the scenes girl all these years to finally being pushed out front thanks to Joe Sievert of
Yeah.
I-70 Auto Service, one of my biggest champions. So thank
Well,
you for
y-
your part in allowing me to get heard.
yeah, well, you're an easy interview because you're passionate, you articulate great. I always call that the old jukebox theory. You put in a quarter and you get three plays, right? So asking Jennifer, forming a question for Jennifer doesn't take much to get a good 5-minute answer, and that's a compliment. Trust me, when you're an interview like me and you're faced with a 20 to 40-minute interview and some great topics, you look at a person like Jennifer and you say, I only need 5 or 6 questions. I don't need 10, So because you do
Right.
a good job, your answers are, and you're at the top of your craft too.
Oh, well, I try. I try. I'm working on it. I'm trying to be like you, Carm. So, um, and this show was born of COVID, right? You know how much of a social animal I
Oh
am.
yeah. Oh God.
And when you isolate me, I'm going to find ways to still connect with my people. And I've met so many people. So I have a long way to go before I even catch up to your coattails. But this whole interviewing thing is a blast.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am loving it,
Yeah.
loving it. And for me, I'm doing this for fun. Yeah, it's content. Yeah, it's connecting, but it's just more fun than anything. So thank you for being part of my pet project.
No problem. One of the things it does is it just makes you closer to your purpose and your why. It makes you closer to what your audience wants from you. They sometimes don't always want answers. They just want you to find them answers. And so you're using your podcast to deliver those different kinds of messages from Jennifer.
I love you. You're so good to me. Okay, so let's focus on you because you are the voice of the automotive industry. And what's fun is you don't really talk much about yourself. Now, I'm lucky to have you as a friend, so I know some of your really awesome stories. I mean, you are quite the storyteller. So this today is a special day, everybody, because I'm going to get the man who asks all the questions to talk.
Well, I'm definitely afraid. I was so nervous wanting to do this interview because I enjoy what I do behind the mic. I want to be the interviewer, and I want to pull the
Oh,
best stories from my guests. And now the role is reversed. Hell, I almost called you and says I'm sick. I can't even believe I'm here because I never want to expose anything that's private
okay,
about
let's
me.
Let's talk about that, my darling. You are such a wonderful human being. You have such a great family. You have such a great background. You give tirelessly to your industry. You lift everybody up that you touch. Why don't you want to talk about that? What?
No, I do want to talk about that, but I do want to talk. Believe you me, when I won the Mort Schwartz Excellence in Education Award, I think it was in 2017. The award
Look at
happens
those
to be
awards.
behind me in the
Yeah.
studio. It was 2017. I've been podcasting for 2 years, and it hit me like a true brick wall. I found out that I was nominated, then I found out that I won it, and to have a moniker called Excellence in Education over you, it really flipped what I knew I was doing for the industry, and it actually took it up a couple of notches, knowing that it was an educational thing. I knew it, I felt it, but it almost took an award. I had applied for the Mort Schwartz Award earlier in my career and never got it. And so I stayed in the automotive business, but became a podcaster. I won the Mort Schwartz Award, and yeah, that was a profound change and effect on me when I started to really realize that the kinds of topics we covered, the people that I brought on, the panel discussions that we did, the depth of the stories that we covered, they were making a difference in people's lives. And I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't really know how much it was happening. And then Jen, just like you, trust me, I know you get emails from people who've read your books, who follow you as a great dancer, by the way, and they write to you and they say, wow, this changed me. Thank you for doing that. And when those cards and letters, quote, 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 started to come in, yeah, it changes your perspective. And frankly, for me, Jen, it just made me work harder.
Right. Yeah, because you don't know who you're going to touch. Okay, so let me back up. For those of you who are watching, you're like, who's this Carm Capriotto guy and what are we talking about here? All right, would you be so bold as to go ahead and talk about what it is that you do, the name of your shows, all of your shows, and then how to find you. But then also too, I want you to start showing me how are you special and unique compared to all the other podcasters.
Well, I started out in 2015, and I realized that there were stories to be told about a pathway to remarkable results, and I pick up the phone and called an automotive shop owner in Pittsburgh that I had met many years ago and said, I like some of the articles that you've written. I got this wild idea. I'd love to interview you and make it into a podcast. And he said, what's a podcast? And I realized that there was a hurdle right there. But after I sold really hard, he said yes. I did some fist bumps, and I said, "Wow, I got my first interview." And it was really about hearing the storyline of success. Now, it doesn't matter automotive aftermarket or electrical business or contracting. We're getting the people in this specific industry. I'm a niche broadcaster to a specific industry to get them to come on and tell their story of remarkable results, which is what I call the show. The website's remarkableresults.biz. And I started out with so here's my 2-minute quick evolution. Okay, this is great. Wow. And I produced the single show a week. I released it on a Tuesday, and then I did another one and another one, and another one. About 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in, I started to get phone calls from people in the industry that weren't automotive shop owners. And I said, conceptually, this is how my brain thinks. Where do I fit them into into this slot? And I said, well, I have to start another show. So I, of course, started a second Remarkable Results. And I said, well, on Fridays, industry executives and business coaches and marketing people, and we'll tie the shop owner on Tuesdays and all the other things that they need to know on Fridays. And that went on for a while, got myself a sponsor, which is how I am putting food on the table. And then I said to myself, there's so many other things going on in the industry. There's topics to cover, there's challenges to meet, there's a technician shortage, there's marketing issues, there's business acumen, leadership, culture. Go down the list of challenges that any small business person would have. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if I could get a couple of people to come on and tear apart a single subject matter? Well, let's call it a town hall. So then we birthed town hall. We did it live, repurposed it on Thursdays, and then I wasn't satisfied there because that's just me. And I says, what else could be really unique inside the industry? Well, let's go out and tour a business. And then I birthed the Aftermarket Weekly Show, which is live on Tuesdays, repurposed on Saturdays as a podcast. And we actually do a shop tour, and I have a co-host guest who comes on, and we talk about 8 minutes on a certain topic. So I'm a busy guy. And then Carmcasts were born, and we decided that I could take a why or how things happen and work in the industry. So we do Carmcasts live and then repurpose those on Mondays. So I we in certain weeks I do 4 shows, in certain weeks I do 5, and of course I do shows for coaching site and a lot of other things going on with me. So I'm a busy guy. I just love what I do, and I know I'm paying it forward so that all ships rise, and that's what you do too. And anyone who has a podcast in a niche market like I do, if we don't help the industry grow, because every industry has their top players and every industry has their bottom players, and every industry has the middle players who need to kick it up a notch or three.
Yeah,
And you and I work very tirelessly to make that happen.
yeah. It's so true. Everyone, what is it? The cream always rises to the top.
Yeah.
We're taught in this American culture that if we work hard, if we get ourselves education, if we do everything right, we will be super successful, and maybe we can retire, and maybe we'll be able to have everything we've ever wanted. And I feel like it is part of my purpose is to help people reach their potential in their business so they can be successful. It's so rewarding when people call and say, "I'm having my best year, Jen," and they're doing it in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Thanks to what you are doing and teaching them, what I'm doing and then with their marketing. It's remarkable, isn't it? That you're right. The what is it? The tide raises all
Yeah,
boats.
high tide rises all ships. To a point, our industry that I broadcast to, and that I know that you have a lot of clients in, we were essential, and that really helped. But here was the key: if you were really at the top of your craft, and you were proving the concept of change and the things that you needed to be doing pre-COVID, you did suffer from COVID for the first 2 or 3 months until we figured out what was going on in our world. And then when we opened up a little bit where people were comfortable to come in and have that touchless experience, the the business people that were on the top of their craft pre-COVID just it came alive. It continued to work. And right now, today, 18 months after COVID, with 70% in some states vaccinated, this industry in its top performers is booked out 3 weeks. You can't get appointments. They're up 20%. The age of cars has gone up because of COVID, because there aren't any news to get because of the chip crisis. Now, I don't want to bring all this crazy stuff, but every industry has their challenges, like lumber going up, in the construction site. We've all got these really different and unique issues. And those are the ones that I love to cover. And so more lately, Jen, we've been covering trending topics, electric vehicles and, right to repair and those kind of things, because the world needs to hear from the people that hold that knowledge.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Things are so exciting. Gosh. Okay, folks. So anybody watching, I'm just so excited because what Carm has done is he's presented an onion, and there are so many layers to what he's talking about. Okay. Questions for you about some of these hot topics. So here we are currently in July of 2021. Things have returned back to normal, whatever that looks like. All states are open at this point. Yes, there is a Delta variant going on. Then I saw a Lambda variant that's come up in the news. It's a bit scary. I'm concerned for our darling friends in Missouri, where the Delta variant is like, really taking place. But anyway, so far, it looks like
Yeah.
the SEMA APEX show is going to be happening in November. I've signed us up, by the way. Hope to see you
Hmm.
there.
Good. Yep.
And other things are starting to open up. Even dancing has come back, Carm. We have
Oh,
live music again,
oh,
and I'm
good for
so
you.
happy. My little dancing spirit is like the for those who don't know, and if you know me well enough, you know that I'm a West Coast swing dancer, but like when COVID happened, that's a little part of my life I just had to tuck away. And it was never a business that fed me. It was the business that fed my soul.
Yeah.
And so, in order to be able to dance again, just makes me so happy. And I remembered you, Carm, when you guys had your first outing with friends at like a happy hour
Oh yeah.
by the water in
By the lake on
you were
Lake Erie here. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Jen, I thank you for bringing that up. That's one of those great, we remember a lot about COVID and being stuck and worried and concerned and, maybe fearful to a point. We weren't really sure, but I want those memories to go away. So we're having to create new ones to figure out just to hug friends with no mask on the side of Lake Erie at a club playing classic rock music, drinking a beer and or whatever your favorite cocktail was. That was one of those stick-to-itive things that when you're a child and you played hide and go seek and you remember all those fun things in your life. Well,
Uh-huh.
this was a post-COVID memory. I shared it on social, so I think you saw that. Yeah.
Oh yes, and I talked with you about it. And you're right. It's like I am hoping that I stick to these memories and that I don't take those small beautiful things for granted again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, never again will I complain that that band is boring. No, no, no. All bands are great because all live music is great. I don't care. I will dance to anything.
Just think about the musicians and their side hustle, their side gigs that were down for the count for how long? And
Oh,
and that revenue was important to them and their families and their livelihood. But more importantly, musicians today do this, I believe, because they absolutely love it. I mean, they were born to play the guitar, the drums, the organ, and to sing, and to see that you could see the enjoyment of these bands more than ever because they're actually doing, as you said before, their most favorite thing.
oh, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? And then just to see, what is the future of automotive as well. Like you're again, all those trending topics, electric vehicles. Boy,
Right.
that's exciting. And I believe I've spoken with you about one of my clients, Peter Oliver of Switch Vehicles, who has um, electric vehicle kits that he is selling to STEM programs through middle school, high school, vocational school, and college. And it's an opportunity for young minds and the trainers as well to assemble these electric vehicles and get some real hands-on training. And then that way they get to learn more about science, learn more about technology, engineering, math, even the arts with design and systems and processes and teamwork and all these soft skills and all these different things. It's really neat to see that Elon Musk has brought something really special to the mainstream. Of course, there were electric vehicles prior to Elon Musk, but it's just we're in a really exciting time.
Yeah, Jen, I've done recently in the last 2 weeks some very cool episodes on the future and electric vehicles. We did one this past Friday in the Town Hall Academy, which is today Thursday? Yes, it released today, and we had Todd Campu and Bill Thompson. They're both from research companies, okay? And they brought statistics. They brought live market research and research of 1,000 automotive shop owners into play, and we laid it up and told the industry what's if you will, ear to ground stuff, real, live, honest to God data. And it was very profound, very important things to think about. And there are people in our industry that have yet to even want to repair a hybrid vehicle, which we have the most of in marketplaces as EVs now are starting to become relevant. I interviewed a gentleman named Derek Kaufman, who's a researcher from an M&A company in the industry, works closely with Morgan Stanley, and they compare notes all the time. Well, Derek has been on my show a bunch of times, and Derek brought me information that in the next 2 years, there'll be 500 new models of electric vehicles in the next 2 years. He brought me data on what's going on in the Senate about a bill for supporting EV vehicle purchases. There was so these are trending topics, and the internal combustion engine, which in our industry is the acronym is ICE or ICE. It still has a role. People are still in love with their trucks, but Ford just introduced the F-150 Lightning, which is their first truck. So, battery life and the number of battery plants that are being built and battery technology and all this stuff. We're on the cutting edge of all of this stuff. Hey, I might not even be around when, my family owns an EV. I don't, my point is that everybody wants it to happen tomorrow, but there's a lot of challenges, and one of the big ones is recharging the car. Getting the battery back up to level. And on a full EV car, that takes a particular charger and an expensive charger. And where are they going to be? So, you know what? It's so much fun, Jennifer, to be uh, on the edge where all this stuff, is, if you will, bubbling up. And I look at myself and my role. If I hear something that's important, we got to cover it. And it's like I'm not a journalist, but I'm a person who I think the industry relies on. Hey, Carm, give us the scoop on this. So it's been a lot of fun lately with the tech subjects. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So I know that you serve a lot of people in the auto repair industry just by sharing all of this great stuff. And obviously, like your eyes light up when you start talking about this. Clearly, you are in it to win it and you love it. Who do you serve outside of work? Who in your life do you serve?
Oh, of course, if it's not for my life partner, I couldn't do what I do. I mean, everything that I've done in my life, if it wasn't for Anne, um,
We
she,
love Anne.
yeah, I love Anne. Anne is Anne's my rock. In fact, Anne, you know, we had our children, and of course, I was working for corporate America, and of course, I was traveling 3 days a week. I mean, those are tough jobs when you have a very large part USA to worry about. And I thank her for all those, the things that she did to manage a house, and she didn't work, which was one of the great things that many years ago, we decided she wasn't going to work. So yeah, Anne's my rock. She's my soulmate. We are bestest of friends, first of all. And let me just share with you, we laugh every single night. And, a lot of times you listen to people, they say, what's, part of a great marriage? Laughter, having fun with
Amen.
each other.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get it, Jen? So Anne and I, it's not like we do it on purpose, but, you're brushing your teeth, you're doing all that nice stuff before you're ready to jump in the bed. Somehow we're just laughing about stuff, the day, what's going on tomorrow, or just a funny thing that we did. And and then the kids is next, and of course now the grandkids. I mean, those are, you know, those are, a main purpose of, getting up every day on the right side of the ground.
I love it. I love it. Yes, your family means a lot to you, and your kids are extra special because you chose them. That's
I
the
chose
best part.
them. Yeah, we adopted our children after 10 years of not being able to have them. And trust me, any other person who's ever had that issue, I can tell you funny stories about that on-demand lovemaking that you had to work with the doctors on, and so I won't go into that. But yeah,
Lots of fun for the guy.
oh, you think it's all work for you? I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
We so yeah, of course we adopted our children from Korea, at different times, and there's some, incredible stories about that process, about having a social worker, about writing biographies, all the things that we take for granted when you just have babies,
Yeah,
parenting,
right.
school, all that stuff came
All
with
that.
it. And it was a phenomenal. We have the most phenomenal memories, emotional memories of the adoption process and getting our kids. And
Love it. Love it. And now, Tracy, your daughter, is helping you with your business. I love
yes,
that. Hi,
yeah.
Tracy, when you're editing. No, she's
Oh,
Renee is my editor for my show, so Tracy's your editor for your show.
oh,
But
okay,
no,
cool. Yeah, yeah. Tracy does all my editing, and she came on board March 1st, just X amount of months ago here, and but she had been my editor for 3 years. So excited to have Tracy on board as my content director and producer, and we're going to do some really great things together.
I love it. I love it. And tell me about the grandkids. How many?
Yeah,
How old?
3 and 7 months, and so thank you, uh, you know, thank you, Papa. I'm saying that because there's always these. They were over the house Sunday for hanging out, and eh, we go there, and they come out to it. They live in the area, which is so cool. And it's yeah, I was kneeling down. I was my little granddaughter, so we have one of each. And I was telling my son Matthew, I says, this is the moment that I just can't quite appreciate when you are our total responsibility as a children, and now you can take them home, and I can spoil the heck out of them. You've heard the grandparent story forever, and that, it really hit me hard, Jen, that I could love them unconditionally, like they were my kids, but there's a completely different feeling when you're a grandparent. I still can't quite place it. Um, there's a little less pressure, but a whole lot more, just as much love, I guess.
Oh yeah. And also too, keep in mind, you already had the practice children. You know
Yeah,
what to do. They haven't. So they're at a different place, right?
yeah, and
So
you can't tell them how to do it.
no, no,
Yeah,
don't you dare.
I know. Yeah, wait till they're grandparents and they'll say, "Wow, I can't believe the restraint that mom and dad showed."
Right. Yeah. And for me, never having children, I taught seventh grade. It was the best form of birth control ever. I still don't want them. I prefer being a mom to a cat or a dog, so I'm good with that. But I do enjoy hanging out with my kids' friends and teaching them how to play drums and teaching them how to play bass guitar and teaching them how to drive stick shift. I like to be that cool aunt kind of deal.
Cool. Cool. The cool aunt. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So now, what is your why? Now, I know that whys change throughout lives. When we were younger, our whys are tending to get around our education and starting our families and making enough money. And then when we get more mature, our whys change. So, what is your journey and where are you at now?
That's a tough question for me because I'm this Gemini with a strength of ideation, and I'm this multi-purpose person. This morning I was Carm X, and now I'm Carm Y, and then all of a sudden, an idea will pop. I guess if it gets back to the core basics is, eh, Grandpa taught me many years ago of integrity and honesty and those kinds of traits that I think always drive decisions that I make. Um, I'm I'm in a why period or a why mode of how can I educate through, how do I find the edification of the smart uh, the smart ideas inside the industry, and find the people that will get that message out. So it's really tough in my mind to figure out a why. It's almost like I appreciate why. I appreciate Simon Sinek. I've seen him. I've got I got the circle in the middle, the what, the how, the why. I get all that. And every once in a while I drive to that why, and then I just say, okay, but I need to be open and flexible. And so I think my why is a moving target, and some people will say, well, this guy's screwed up. No, no, it just works for me.
Actually, I would agree with you on a lot of that. I find that my why is unique to whatever perspective I'm focusing on.
Yeah, yeah,
So my why for my business might be a different why for my dancing, or various
sure.
things. But I
Yeah,
and also too, I've noticed a shift. Like for a long time I've said, well, my why, I know that I am meant to create a ripple effect of joy that touches millions of people. But that's kind of interesting, but like, that's ethereal. It's like it's hard to touch. And then it happened, I don't know, I think around a year ago when my father passed away. And I was interviewing my mother in Renee and I were doing our Marriage Plus Business blog. And we were interviewing my mother, talking about how it was for she and my dad to run their electrical contracting business. And daddy was still alive, but he was unable to talk. He was in hospice at that time. So we interviewed my mother. And, when I'm an 11-year-old girl moving into our new house that my parents bought because it had a business and a house attached to it. So, long story short, my dad worked for my grandfather. My grandfather and my father kind of locked horns like fathers and sons sometimes do in the electrical contracting business. So my father left Filzen Electric, and he would end up buying an electrical contracting service from a gentleman named Pierre Desjardins. And so Pierre had built the business and the house together, and the zoning ran through our garage. So literally the zoning for residential and commercial was dividing our property. And I'm 11 years old. We move into this house, and for like the first 10 years, my parents really struggled. But I didn't know it because, like, I'm a kid. Like, what am I focused on? I'm talking to my girlfriends and going to the mall. That's like really all I cared about. It didn't really hit me until it was time for me to go to college, and it was really tough for my parents to scrape money together because they were about to go bankrupt. And I'm listening to these stories as a 50-year-old woman, my mother telling me all this, and I'm like, oh wow, like I had a completely different perspective. And so
yeah,
now I would say that my why is to help small businesses that don't have a coach, that don't have a marketing department, that don't have the guidance, because my parents had none of that. So if I
yeah,
can spare people from almost losing everything, if I can spare people from having troubles in their marriage because the
yeah,
business is weighing down on them so much,
yeah.
if I can help people reach their next million and be happy, then that's what I want to do. Yeah.
There are so many people out there struggling. It's a great story for you to share about, the challenges that your parents had, and that's been duplicated millions of times in our lifetimes with so many people with upstart businesses and, challenged to figure out how to grow sales. But uh, it was just 2 weeks ago. We were out at the lake again. No, it was July 4th. Yeah, it was July 4th, and some friends that I know I'm a podcaster, but don't know what industry I am. And I kind of overheard something at the end of the table. So I went down there and I said to her, I said, you know what I do? She goes, yeah, some broadcasting thing. And I says, well, I'm a podcasting in the automotive industry. And I says, what are you talking about? She says, well, my son owns a shop. It would happen to be a collision shop. And he was struggling, and he's had an offer from a coaching company, and it's like bing, I just perked right up, and I got a little closer, and so I started to ask a bunch of questions of her, and I was trying to get a feel for the challenges that she has. She's from the bookkeeping world, so she's doing the guy's books. He came from outside the industry, which is really kind of cool. If you're a great business person. And basically, I listened and I listened and I listened, and I said, "Listen, here's my card. I mean, there's over 1,000 episodes that I know will help your son find um, solace in some of his challenges, and maybe even offer him great advice that are coming from peers if he's not in a peer network." And so, um, I did something that I maybe shouldn't have done, And I keep thinking about, every once in a while you say things and then you rewind and you say, how was my day? He says, that was, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I said to her, I says, potentially his problem is the man in the mirror. And I says, and I'm not saying it is or I'm not saying it isn't, but so many people, they don't know what they don't know. And again, it goes back to purpose and why, Jen, with the people out there in any business that's suffering. I mean, anyone in any business could listen to probably 50% of my podcast and learn something about being a great leader, building a great business culture, learning what marketing really means, and on and on. But how many times have I gotten letters from people that said I was the problem? I was the problem. I couldn't get out of my own way because my ego was so strong. The world was looking out, it was looking in saying, wow, this cool guy, look at these, got that brand new truck and the cottage out on the lake and this great businessman. Assumptions of being brilliant and smart and successful are always heaped upon you as a business person. No one knows what those struggles are like. You just mentioned it. And there are more people that are struggling and trying to find their path, their way, than not struggling. And that is what warms me deep inside about why I get up every day to produce the best, to find the great topics, to do an interview that people can relate to. And my biggest struggle is when I think of the number of people who haven't listened to my show, and that's what frustrates me, is that there are too many people that aren't looking for help, and they should be. And
Mm.
how do we get the message through and across? So, we could all use more listeners, we could all use more clients, because what we do is extremely honorable.
So true, so true. But you are doing a fantastic job of getting all those messages out there because I see you everywhere on Facebook. I see your wonderful emails. You are a marketing genius. I'm very proud of you. And what you're doing is you're definitely getting that message out. And it's funny, it's like we get into our bubbles, don't we? I I I think that everybody that I know knows each other because I'm so social and I belong to so many different things that I see everybody, or not everybody, but I see so many people in the same places. I just assume that all of these people know each other. And then when I find out that they don't, I'm like, ooh, you two need to get together. So here we are on social media, and we assume that everyone can see what our friends are doing because they're our friends. Of course, you see what my friends are doing. No, not necessarily, because they're not your friends. And therefore, we just need to work harder at getting the word about what you're doing out there. So, yes, remarkable results is it's amazing how much you create. I mean, and it's all quality content. I got to tell you, I confess, I listen as much as I can. And then there are times that I'm just so busy, I'm like, I'll catch it
No,
later.
I get it.
But
No, I get it.
I could spend hours and hours and days and months just listening to your podcast because you've run so many of them. How many have you done now? I think you passed a major
Between all
milestone,
the
didn't
different
you?
between all the different venues, there's 1,000 plus. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
lot of great content.
yeah.
Oof.
A lot of work.
And are you
Right,
also
right,
putting all of
right,
this
right
on,
into. I'm sorry. Say it again.
are you also putting all of this on YouTube? You're not
Everything's on
putting it on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Everything's on YouTube. Yeah, Carm
Okay, good.
Capriotto YouTube channel. Everything gets repurposed there. Of course, the video shows are there, but any podcast that wasn't a video to start with is still repurposed as an audio file on YouTube. A great thing. Tomorrow, there's an episode coming out with a wonderful shop owner woman named Dina Ganji, and I recorded it in Florida. This was a very emotional episode. It was so good. It was very emotional, and it's all about your favoriteest thing in the world, community. And I don't think, if anyone is lacking the value and the power of community, then I think this episode tomorrow with Dina Ganji is going to knock you off your chair, because it, it it was extremely emotional, to hear her talk about what she does. That in her world, I'm trying to remember, employees come first, community comes second. It is such a heartwarming story, and I love to do this stuff because here it is. Can I drag 4 or 5 people over the line that listen to this thing and finally say, it's time, I gotta do this. I'm finally convinced. That's where
Yeah.
my purpose, my why, my joy comes from. I think down the road saying, how many people can we affect with this thing? I'll never know, Jennifer. You'll never know the impact that you have, but in how people can use this stuff that they absorb, they take in, and use it someday down the road. They may not use it today, but they may say, that's got to be a high priority to-do list. It may not happen for a month or two, but the fact of the matter is we helped them over the line.
So true. And you're absolutely right. I belong to a real estate investing community through Jacksonville Wealth Builders. That is the place in Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up, and we own 3 rental properties through them. And I plan on making my retirement through owning more rental properties with them. So they have this online community and very interactive webinars. So like we're blowing up the chat. We're like, I made the host sing today. We are family. I made him sing. Like we're having a good old time. I'm like instigating, hey, why don't we all get together? And it really is about community, isn't it? And one of the guests on their podcast on Tuesday was asked, what finally made you choose to work with our organization? And he said, I have been watching this community for 6 months. And after seeing this person speak and this person speak, and all the community members and all these different people say how great this organization is, I finally decided to buy my first property. And here he is now being interviewed. And you're right. It's knowing that you can come into a warm, welcoming community of like-minded people, that you're safe to express yourself. You're safe to ask questions, right? Because no question is dumb. And when we're learning, hello, we have to give ourselves grace. And you have such a great learning platform. Oh my gosh, I've learned so much from listening to you and everybody that you have on there.
You're so kind. Thank you.
Yes. So when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to building community, if somebody is watching this and says, wow, I want to be a podcaster like Carm, what advice do you have?
Man, wow. In
Where do
30
you
seconds or
start?
less. 30
I
seconds or
don't know.
less.
You
Yeah, I know.
take your time. Take your time on
Um,
that answer.
don't become a podcaster because you think it's cool to have a picture with you in front of a microphone and you have the gift of gab. I think you have to have a passion for what you want to talk about. And if you just want to get on and do some of the stuff that I know and that I hear, come on with no particular topic, you may get yourself, 100 listens in a local community. But if you really want to make it big and you want to make a difference, consistency, um, I never come into a studio without a plan, without a format. I never interview someone that I haven't done an icebreaker call with. There's an awful lot of time investment, thinking, thoughts, writing, framing that go in to be a serious podcaster. And then when you're all done, there's the editing, there's the final production, there could be some sound enhancements there, and then the platform, and then the selling of it, and then the marketing of it, and the housing of it. Where is this episode, where's it going to live? Yeah, you're going to spend a little bit of money. The barrier to entry is very, very low in podcasting. You could do it for $100 microphone and a free piece of software, and wow, I'm a podcaster. And we have, I don't know, is it 2 or 3 million now podcasts in the world? And I think, there may be, and don't quote me on this, maybe a 500,000 real active ones, because there's a lot of them that start, they go on for, 10 episodes and then they go away. But I would, I've encouraged people. I've helped them do a lot of those kinds of things inside, just for what they want to do. And you could buy a course tomorrow for, 29.95 to learn to become a podcaster, but it's the commitment. It's not about being one. It's about being one.
I love it. But you're right. Like look at how you started off with just the one and now you're doing 4 or 5 shows per week because you're just constantly influenced by, ooh, I could do this. I'm
Yeah,
inspired to do this. It's
yeah.
it's exciting.
There are
It's really
venues,
exciting.
Jennifer. There are venues. I mean, I do when I come up with a different twist on how to convey information, I just had to create a new brand or a new venue. That's just me.
I love it. I love it. Well, who knows? Maybe someday you'll be the coach of all podcasters. Wouldn't that be fun?
No, no, frankly, I don't want to do that. In fact, I know some great people high up in the podcasting industry. I hired a coach for 3 years and I learned a lot. I learned a lot of right things and wrong things. Podcasting is evolving. It's changing. Apple's doing a lot of interesting things now. You can actually create subscriptions for podcasters, so you don't need a sponsor. You just charge people to listen, but you've got to have something pretty damn decent for them to want to pay for, right? And Apple's moving in that direction for people that can maybe earn off of it. But I I know one thing for sure. Just because I'm a successful podcaster doesn't mean I have the bandwidth or the gift of wanting to teach or coach people. And it's right now it's not. If you said, "Would you like to be a podcast coach?" and I would say right now, absolutely not. I just no. I think I found my gift, and it's not to teach other people. It's to share the message. It's get the word out.
No, I love it. I love it. You're very clear as to what you want, and that's
Yeah.
great, right? Maybe I was influenced to say that because we hang out with so many darn coaches.
I know. I know. Former shop owners, and God bless them. Thank God they found their gift of, moving from owning to coaching because not that they couldn't run a great company. I mean, all of these coaches that we have run great, great companies, but they also help. It was in their heart to help people,
Yeah, yeah.
and and
And
and so they're great at it. No, I don't see myself making an evolution. Would I consult someone on a project? Sure, but I wouldn't teach people how to be podcasters.
got it. That's
I
so
would
cool.
I would co I would direct them and help produce them. Okay, I would direct and produce them, but I wouldn't coach them. And I think there's a
Love it.
difference in directing and producing rather than coaching. I don't want to coach the actor. I, I, I don't want to coach. I don't want to do the acting school. I want to direct the act.
Isn't that cool when you have that clarity? People have told me that I need to be a coach, and I'm like, I think of coaching as holding them accountable and holding their feet to the fire. I just want to teach what I know, and they run with it. And if they don't want to use it, and they know that they want to work with me, great, hire me and my team. Like, it's
Yeah.
simple.
Yep.
But you're right. Like, we all have our thing. Oh my goodness. Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed watching Carm Capriotto of Remarkable Results Radio. Now, listen, we're going to take notes here. Carm, how do we get a hold of you? And we promise we won't make you coach us, but how do we get a hold
Oh,
of you
very
as far
easy.
as watching?
Carm, CARM at remarkableresults.biz, B-I-Z. That's my email.
Okay,
Of course, the
and
website's remarkableresults.biz.
good. And you are on Facebook. You are on YouTube.
I'm
Are
on
you
Car-
on
I'm
LinkedIn?
on YouTube, Carm Capriotto on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter at our results biz, but you just need to run my name and you'll find me. Yeah, I'm pretty much at Apple
You're everywhere.
Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, FM dot, all these. There's probably 10 to 12 podcast sites. Just run Remarkable Results. You'll find it.
Fantastic. All righty. Thank you, everybody, for watching us today. You have met truly one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Carm, I adore you. Please
Continued
give my
success to
love
you.
to
Let me
Anne.
see. Got that heart thing down. Do I? Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
got
you
it.
got it. You
I
got
got
it.
it. I got it. Okay.
There you go.
Thanks, Jen.
Much love to Anne and Tracy and the whole family. Enjoy your time at the lake and go have some more fun with people and hug them. And I will see you soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure of it. Yeah. Thanks,
All right,
Jen.
brother. Love you.
Appreciate
Bye.
it. Bye.